Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to be talking in depth about Zoya. I'm specifically going to say, is there a space for her on the team, especially when you are looking at Nox, because everyone's going to get Nox for free from the 14-day thing anyway. So even with Nox around, is there still room for Zoya? That's what I'm going to talk about. So first of all, let's just very briefly go over her skills. So the first skill is just a normal attack. She attacks in a cross range area like that. The second skill is actually really important in my opinion. It does a few things. First of all, it does a lot of damage, about 560% of her attack. That's kind of pretty common. I think like around 600% is usually the common multiplier I see for skills. It's a 3x3 square, so it's all around her. But I think the really interesting part is that she temporarily terrifies all enemies in range. So that part means that it's basically kind of like a CC. I will talk more in depth about it, but that's something that's really important to consider because that I think is one of the big use cases for her, that CC. And then after that, she gets a secondary buff called Legion's Arrival. And this basically increases her damage overall. That's it. I mean, that's just an easy way of saying it. Legion's Arrival basically lets her do even more damage for 15 seconds. Now, her next skill after that, the third attack does extra damage, 2% of the target's maximum HP. Sorry, 2% of target's current HP, so extra damage for every third hit. And finally, she increases her attack speed when she's only attacking one enemy. So that attack speed can increase up to 15%. So if you look at just this kit, like just these skills, you can see that she's kind of attack oriented. But I think there's actually a lot of flexibility with her when you start looking at her crime band skills. So if you look at the crime band skill here, it tells you that when Legion's Arrival is activated, Zoya gains 30% additional damage reduction and becomes immune to negative effects. So she gains damage reduction. She's able to kind of be built as a bruisey tanker because of this. Actually, before I continue, I'm just going to talk about this thing right here. So her Mania Intensify skill helps her to deal 10% more damage and another 10% more for enemies with broken cores. So again, it helps her to deal more damage. So anyway, I said that she's a bit flexible. She has a lot of stuff, like all four of these skills, and this skill right here. All of these are built towards being dealing a lot of damage. She doesn't come close to doing as much damage as Nox though. Like if you see how much damage that Nox can put, if you've seen any of my latest videos about Nox, you can see that she basically completely clears waves of enemies very, very quickly. You put her ultimate on and she just like massively clears everything. Zoya does not have that kind of damage. She, there are ways to build her for damage, but whenever it comes to like wave clearing especially, sure, her ultimate, you can use it to attack everybody in that square once, but that's it. Like after you attack once, that's gone, and then after that she becomes a single target attacker. So in terms of pure damage output, if she's focusing on just one enemy, sure, she might come close to Nox's damage output, especially if you're able to get a third shackle, because a third shackle says that Zoya gets an increase in 20% damage when there's only one enemy within a cross area. So for single target damage, yeah, she does come quite close to Nox, I think, especially after you unlock the third shackle. But because of her crime band and because of the lack of tanks in the game, like there are tanks in the game, but they're not really used often, right? So if you are ever in a position where you're like, okay, I really need a tank for this, or a bruiser or something to take the damage while my other damage dealers are able to dish out the damage, Zoya is a good bruiser that comes in handy in that case. You can especially use this, her crime band skill. So basically, whenever she's using Legion's Arrival, she's now going to be taking reduced damage, right? So with the Chief skill that gives her energy, as soon as she finishes Legion's Arrival, like it lasts for 15 seconds, it says. Let me see. Yeah, it lasts for 15 seconds. So as soon as that's done, you can give her more energy with that. You can also, if you unlock her first shackle, she increases the duration by 5 seconds. So it goes up to 20 seconds. So you can do that to keep it up more often, and then she's able to take reduced damage. Now, if you notice that she can only block one enemy here, right? Because she's not an Edura class, she is a Furry class, so she can only block one enemy. But there is a crime band, like not the exclusive one, but stuff like this that you can give her, which would increase her block by +1. So that can increase her block to 2. And then you can also give her other defensive crime bands as well if you are doing that. Like there's another crime band where I think I have it. Let me see if I can quickly find it. No, maybe I don't. But yeah, there is another crime band where once you equip it, you are this one. Yeah. So this is crime band. So this is on slot 1 and 3. If you equip this one, the damage taken is reduced by 8% for each enemy blocked. And if you equip the other crime band, which I don't have, it's a legendary crime band, which increases the number of enemies blocked by 1. If you put that on her, she's able to block 2 enemies. So this, at that time when she's blocking 2 enemies, her damage will be reduced by another 16%. Now this 16% is going to be in addition to the 30% here if she's at level 1. If she's at level 3 crime band, then she will be at an additional 40%. So basically she's able to get a lot of damage reduction if you build her properly. And while you're building that, while she's getting that damage reduction, she still is able to dish out quite a lot of damage. If you look at the other tanks in the game right now, the reason that they're not used right now is because they don't do anything else, right? Like, well, anybody really, like Demon or whatever, like they don't have CC. They're able to protect your team, sure, but in this game, you really want to kill the enemies, right? Like, they're like protecting your teammates is kind of secondary. If you can kill all your enemies really fast, that's great. You also need to do other things like break cores, and some healing is needed. So things like that is more needed. Just strictly tanking is not needed as much. I've used Demolia, and I've used her quite well in the story, especially when I was starting out and I really needed somebody to survive. She was great, but she didn't do like any damage at all. She did very little damage. The other tanks in the game all suffer from the same thing, and in my opinion, the worst thing about the tank is that they don't have any CC. Well, I only look at these two tanks really, Demolia and Demon, but neither of them really have any CC. And I feel like in other games where you have a tank, they usually have something. They have like a stun or some other capability that, in addition to tanking, also provides CC, helping your teammates to survive. And so these guys don't have that, right? So I feel like Zoya could actually make a really good tank, and I think she would excel at it because of that CC, the additional CC that she has. And of course, in addition to all this, she's also going to be dealing out quite a bit of damage because all her other skills, everything else here is built around like damage dealing. So she is basically a perfect like bruiser, and I think the game has a lot more use for a bruiser than a pure tank. So I think in terms of tanking, where you're looking at overall usefulness of a tank, I think Zoya would probably be the best one there. But as I said, you don't have to build her this way. You can also just give her offensive crime bands here. Like even something like this, like East Side Dream, it gives plus 15% normal attacking damage. And after she uses her ultimate, like she basically just does normal attacks, and that Legion's arrival is basically like a normal attack. So that attack will be increased by 15%. And even her third and fourth passives, they're all increasing her like normal attacking capabilities, right? So giving her even this crime band is good just for her offense. But there are probably better ones, especially legendary ones that you can give her as well that would increase her offense. Since I don't really have much legendary ones, I haven't looked at it too deeply. But there are, you can build her either way. You can build her as a damage dealer, or you can build her as a bruiser, to be able to survive hits from enemies. And I mean, it's free to change crime bands around, and the only difference between Bruiser Zoya and full DPS Zoya is the crime bands, because everything else is pretty much the same, right? So it's free to change them right now. Like I can put something else here right now and just change it, and there's no cost, like there's no gold or anything, so it's very easy to change it around. So that really gives her flexibility, and I think that really sets her apart from Nox. Nox is great for wave clearing and dealing a high amount of DPS. There are times that you can build her as strictly the only DPS in your team, and everyone else can be some kind of supporting role. You can do that, and she will do fine. So like strictly speaking, and in terms of like overall, not just like one-on-one, but in overall team fights where there are a lot of mobs coming at you, Zoya is not Zoya Nox is the best. She is the best at DPS, damage clearing, blah blah blah. But I think there's still a pretty good case to be made for Zoya. As I said, like she's a good bruiser, and they're both enough apart that I think there's a use case for both. And personally, I really like the how Zoya looks like. I think she's a really cool character. I mean, her story in the game was also really interesting, which also makes it more appealing to play Zoya. Whereas Nox, I don't really know much about, except for the interaction she's had with Chief, talking here and there. But Zoya is a really cool and interesting character, so she has that going for her as well. Um, so anyway, that's my review on Zoya. I think she's a really good character, and I think there is definitely uh, potential for her to be in a team because she is different enough apart from Nox that she still warrants building. Let me give you another example of somebody that I think would not go well with Nox. So if I look at where did that character go? Wendy. Wendy, I think, is a great character as well, especially A rank and like her skills and everything. I'm not going to go into detail, but I think she's a good character. But I wouldn't really recommend anyone to build Wendy simply because you have Nox, and Nox is like a very straight upgrade from Wendy. There isn't like Wendy doesn't do any CC or have anything, um, anything that's more appealing or different from Nox than just a straight, damage dealing, and Nox just does that better. So if Zoya's kit was exactly like Wendy's, she's just a damage dealer, there was nothing else, there's no CC, there was no like bruiser kind of stuff going, then I would say, okay, well, maybe that's not really, unless you really like Zoya, there's not enough reason for you to build her. But that's not the case. Like Zoya is different apart from Nox that I think like I would recommend Zoya. I think there's enough. She has enough going for her that I think it would be justified in raising her. So anyway, that's my review. Give me your thoughts if there is anything I missed about her, or if you do disagree or you agree. Leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So I hope to see you guys next time. Take care now.